Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my review of the Vaxee XE. You guys can see I have it in this beautiful orange colorway. I really do think that Vaxee knocks all their shapes out of the park. The NP01, the NP01S, and the Vaxee Outset, and now the XE certainly don't leave much to be desired. The mouse just feels good in my hand, and if it was operable in the format that I'm using the mouse right now, aka wireless, I would absolutely main this mouse, no hesitation whatsoever. But the mouse does have a detachable USB-C cable that is required to power on and utilize the mouse, and that cable does just feel a little bit wonky hanging off the front end. But I do want to get into what I like about this mouse because really there is quite a lot that I do like, separate and apart from the color, its appearance, which is, come on, it's awesome. But let's get into it. Given the fact that Vaxee has kind of made a name for themselves as the king of shapes, I do want to focus on the shape in this video, and once I pulled it out of the box, plugged it in, put it in use, what I found it most comparable to. And the two mice that I found it to be pretty similar to were the G Pro Superlight and the NP01. The main difference between the NP01 and the Vaxee XE is the XE in this mid-body actually seems to sit a little bit higher, and the Mouse 1 and Mouse 2 actually seem to round out a little bit more downward, so your fingers seem to feel like they sit a little bit lower instead of kind of in this neutral position on the Vaxee NP01. The XE is fully symmetrical compared to the NP01 that only has this drastic thumb flare on the left side of the mouse. You can see that it now flares out and back in equally and symmetrically on the Vaxee XE, and personally I think it actually feels better than the NP01. The coating on the mouse is actually new. It is not that similar to the original NP01. I do have the NP01 in pink, and the bottom portion of the mouse, this matte coating, not the one on the switches, but the matte coating on the body actually now it feels fairly consistent throughout this orange copy of the Vaxee XE, and it even feels a little bit chalkier and a little bit drier. I personally like the coating. I personally think that they did a very good job on the coating, and it stays dry in my hands through humid use, through hot days, through days of my AC not being full blast. I think they did a good job on the coating. The other mouse that I found it to be very comparable to was the G Pro Superlight, and you can see one of the main differences again is the mid-body. The G Pro Superlight sits a little bit higher, and the Vaxee XE seems to have a little bit more drastic of a U on the booty and then a flare back inward. So your thumb actually kind of locks in better than it does on the G Pro Superlight. And once you get towards the upper portion of the mouse, it actually begins to become flat again, giving you a nice resting point for your ring finger and your pinky. I like the shape of the XE a lot more than the shape of the G Pro Superlight. To me, it feels like I'm just more locked in, and I feel much more consistent with my grip on this shape compared to the G Pro Superlight. Again, the switches, Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, feel like they sit, your fingers sit a little bit lower on the XE than the G Pro Superlight, and that mid-body is lower on the Vaxee XE. So again, what a lot of people have been asking for with a flatter, a little bit more comfortable G Pro Superlight, I think the Vaxee XE actually succeeds in giving the market that option. But again, wired mouse compared to wireless. You guys can see that my copy is 67 grams, and again, the build quality here is very good. If I squeeze as hard as I can get the side buttons to actuate, but you're not going to be squeezing that hard in game. The top shell does not flex downward. The bottom plate, if you're pushing very hard, you can feel it flex a little bit. The skates are on the thin side, so you will pick up a little bit more of your pad, but they are nice and big. They feel pretty good in game. And as far as all of the switches, they all feel extremely good. I have no noticeable side flex on the buttons in game. I have just a little bit of pre-travel on Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, no post-travel. And my side buttons really have no pre or post travel that is significant enough for me to even mention it or show it to you guys. Now guys, for shits and giggles, I want you to pretend that the Vaxee XE is wireless and has comparable tech to all of the other mice on my desk. I would literally push every other mouse to the side and I would be maining the Vaxee XE. For me in game, and I'll throw up clips on the left, again, it feels like a more aggressive and more locked in G Pro Superlight for me, and I think a lot of it has to do with that lower mid body and your finger sitting a little bit lower. I kind of feel like my fingers get locked in a little bit more forward at the front of the mouse where it's a little bit more narrow, and it does make me feel like I am using a more fine point tool compared to something a little bit more vanilla where my fingers sit a little bit further back on the G Pro Superlight. The Vaxee XE feels like I am more locked in, and I'm definitely more precise and more consistent. And I love everything about the mouse between the appearance, the aesthetics, the color, the coating. And I do think that the skates, while they are a very nice size, the skates are probably the only thing that I would change if this was wireless. The only thing that I would change in terms of swapping to third-party skates and getting a bit more of a faster and less scratchy glide. But overall, I do think that they did an extremely good job with the shape of the mouse. It is just unfortunate, again, that it is in wired format. And I did just want to show you guys, like, the cable in use, you actually do have about an inch or so where the cable doesn't drag on your desk at all. But it is a rather wide cable and floppy cable, so like you still will, even if you have a, bungee, let's say, attached to your monitor and a little bit of slack, you're still gonna feel that cable at the end of the mouse, which is, if you're used to a wireless mouse, just a little hard to get readjusted to. And I did want to show you guys, the mouse actually comes in some very awesome colorways. I think the blue is just absolutely hot, but it does have the orange, the pink, the yellow, the white, and the black. So it is nice to have, again, all of those options from Vaxee. It really does look great in person. So guys, the mouse really is a fairly nice package. It's got the 3389 sensor. It does have a very good weight and weight distribution at 67 grams. And I do think that just in general, the coating for me worked out well. For others with sweaty hands, maybe not so much. The only cardinal sin that the mouse does have is, of course, the fact that it does have that cable in 2022. So as long as you're okay with having a cable on your mouse, I can certainly recommend it. For me, I'm not going to continue using it just because right now what I'm into is wireless mice. So again, a shape that I really enjoy, a shape I really truly hope Vaxee brings to us in wireless format, because I will be the first in line to purchase it. I hope that helped, guys. If it did, please leave a sub to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next review. Peace.